You're waiting on me. Oh, goodness gracious. I am a minute early, of course. How dare you? Oh, wait. Huh? Huh? Nice. Oh, okay. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. Oh. 04. Yes. Learn something new every day. I was watching Super Duper South's latest video, and I self-professed I've never paid much attention to date codes. I got years. Okay. I've never really it's UAS stuff, especially up north here. I've never really had to pay attention to date codes, but it seems to be all the rage lately. And I learned today from Super Duper South how to read a date code on a Maxis. Who knew? uh, that was pretty cool to learn, though. I know they're stamped. I know they mean something. I wonder if bursts are similar. Where are my bursts? I got them somewhere around here. Anyway, so yeah, the second number in is the year, or it'd be like this is 2004. So the 4 would mean this is a 2024, and then the next two will tell you what week they were created. And these happen to be created in February. 02 February. Yeah, so that is useful information for somebody who needs useful information. I was just looking, cutting your clone tires. I have not cut my clone tires only because I run Burris. I don't cut them in the conventional sense that I use in a rasp or a body file. I tried a little bit. I didn't love it. I know with Burris, it's a real good idea to freeze them. I don't. Well, I have a fridge right over there that's not plugged in. Technically, I could freeze some Burris and cut them that way. But the tracks I have up here, when I do run Burris, I don't see a huge need for it. I could be wrong, but I've never really needed it. What I do is I aggressively sand things. So on the Burris 33s, Burris 11s, run something super coarse, 60, 40 grit, somewhere in there on my little angle grinder there. Also, if I don't want to use the angle grinder, if I don't want to remove that much material, I don't know that I'm really saving that much material, but I'll just take like 80 grit or 120 grit or something like that and hit the tire as it's on the machine, which is essentially cutting the tire. It's reducing the tread depth, but I don't technically cut tires. I feel uncomfortable with the way it grabs. It just yeah. Let's go now. What would you do? Loose going in. A couple things. How much rear stagger do you have? Would be a good question. If you have too much rear stagger, that will cause that. Also, I would say, your transfer to your nose is awfully fast. So I would try and slow down the transfer. Maybe tuck in your left rear hub a tidbit, or um, if it's transferring quicker, so it's jumping to the front too fast, maybe slow it down. You could pick up your right front a little more negative right front camber, so it would slow that transfer to the front. Uh, yeah, the left rear towards the motor. Yeah, yeah. I know that if you go with too much, if you have too much rear stagger, like it's great that you get it to turn center. Some of these small bull rings that I'm on in particular, you go inch and a half, inch and three quarters for a stagger. Well, that has a tendency to really make it free in. So you gotta, yeah, right front camber adjustment is where I would tip it up just slightly, reduce that. You got to think the when you're running camber, this is planted already, so the transfer rate is now. To whereas if you tip it up, it takes a moment to get there. And same thing with the left rear. If the left rear is too far out, which I have a tendency to moving your left rear out. If you get a space between your frame rail and your rim, will help it turn center, but it messes with it will speed up it will speed up that transfer we're talking about. It will speed up getting loose in. So you have to, I find that, that's the lever system that is a cart and cart chassis. It is a balancing act with you do not make one adjustment and it is an end all be all. When you make one adjustment, it has an adverse effect. Whether or not that that's manageable is totally up to you. But when you make one adjustment, typically it's a yin and a yang. You're gaining something, but you're giving up something in that process. Try a 3-inch grinder with plastic. Oh, okay. 3-inch. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't played around a ton with it as is. I got enough crap from that viral video about the wobble that was in it. I kept on telling people like, "Hey man, it's a homemade machine. That axle is out of a white chassis, like WHITE. I think that's how you spell it. It's a old road course, like '80s vintage road course. That's the axle out of that. I just happened to hack it up. It's been bent, but I did adjust it. I lopped some off and I moved it and I shimmied things around, and now that it's not as dancy. But everybody's like, "Oh, chuck the balance on that wheel." It's just like, I mean, it's an older rim. Maybe a little bit of it was that, but mostly it was the axle that had a little shimmy to it. Not, like I said, I don't do much cutting. I surface tires and I remove material when I surface tires, so it's getting there. It's just not as efficient. It's not like it's. I won't ever say that I cut tires because I don't. If I were to have the money, I would probably invest in a machine, Jones or otherwise, that would cut tires just so I don't screw it up. I know it just takes a body filler rasp. That's what Tatum was, asking on Facebook about, and somebody mentioned my name. I'm like, oh, don't mention me. I haven't figured that out yet. Uh, Likes 1 inch on the dot, no more, no less. Oh yeah, yeah. So but I have a Recon 17 Recon, and if I run, I won't say any less. So in practice last week, I went down to AMS, that high bank track, and typically you run inch and a half, inch and 5/8 rear stagger. It's just kind of what you run there. It just how it. I don't think you need it so much through 1 and 2 as you do 3 and 4. Anyway, that stagger, I screwed up, and I didn't screw up. It's in standard burst fashion. Sometimes they're hard to keep staggers in them. I had lost like quarter of inch of stagger, so I only had an inch and a quarter stagger. It still turned pretty darn good. I was tight, but not undrivable tight, and I was quite impressed. I was able to. I changed tires, and I got my little. I jokingly, bought, not jokingly. I thought it would work, and then when I got it, it's a like a brazier for steaks and stuff like that. It's a big propane torch. It has a big end on it instead of a little dinky one that it just takes forever to heat a tire up. So I bought this thing and I thought, well, maybe. And then my first reaction was it was too big. It's going to cause too much flame and this and that. But now I've used it twice. I've used it to torch in some chemical, and I used it to grow a tire, and it worked because it disperses so much flame that it can't help but heat the tire up. It worked really well. Well, you got to be very careful because it does shoot a shoot a flame out. You got to be very careful with it. I'll learn it a little bit more, but it worked really well. I had to inflate a right rear tire at the track Saturday. Put a whole bunch of standard procedure. Put it up, inch and a quarter or a quarter inch over where you want it to be, and then flame the tire. And I just let it, it was a whole bunch of rain breaks, this and that. I didn't have to dunk the tire, just kind of let it take its set. I set pressure last minute, going up to the grid. Tire was cool, rock and roll, had an inch and a half rear stagger, worked really well. Everything I did to the cart this past week, I made a whole bunch of changes, which now have to come back out because I'm going to a completely different track. I moved some because this little track, I struggle with having too much left weight because I'm a 220-pound human, and I just can't seem to get off the left side at this particular track and northern tracks. You don't want 60% track in general. It doesn't mean it won't work. Just in general, you want to be more 57-ish percent. I got to get back on the scales, and I got to put basically up back into it, or at least what Phantom recommends, because it's going to be a high left, high bite type of track. But yeah, we got the dreaded HBM Reaper. These are 2025s. Oh no, what shall I do? Oh, man, a freaking meltdown, man. That was fun to watch. Uh, what's up? What's going on, man? Uh, Blowing up your right size will help with Stagger easier to grow the right size. Yeah, you're not kidding, Bill. I got I forgot stickers in the house. I was going to bring them out, but I forgot. But you're right. Shrinking the, for those of you, I assume everybody is in here has grown and shrunk tires, but that is definitely there is. It's more repeatable to be able to grow your right side tires than it is to shrink them. You can shrink tires. It's just you're kind of, yeah, that might work. And then, especially this year, for whatever reason, my left rear burrs, I'm having the darndest time getting them to shrink and stay. Uh, More stay than anything. They seem to measure up, and then the next time I go back to them, which is just I'm not complaining about burrs. It's tires in general. Sometimes they don't want to behave, and you struggle with keeping staggers and anything. I've had the same issue with Vegas. I've had the same issue with no. I definitely we'll see what these are like. The new HBMs. I got 2023s over there, and I tell you what, they were a bugger to move right or left. I got this is the only tire that I got to drop down. This is, and you can tell because I ran it a bunch. The three races I ran, I got scuffed. I got hit in the left rear, but great. There's still good tread on it. It might turn out that if the track's super hard and fast, 2023 may not be the worst thing to have on track. We'll see though if I can acquire anything slightly newer. But anyway, this one I got down to like 32 and a half, which was amazing. And then I struggled with the right sides on the 23 Reapers. I got right, yeah, I'm probably Sunday or something like that. I'm going to be running that hot box, just getting them toasty and try and get them to move. Or maybe I'll torch them and really, put it to them and not screw around. I got to get some stagger in the rear though. I think, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get an inch and a half, but I think as big as Selins Grove is, I think inch and a quarter, inch and a quarter, I'll be fine. Which is, it's fairly standard. I've really gotten quite used to that inch and a half. It's just so nice when the cart turns, but it does present different problems. It presents a sometimes a slightly looser in condition, and sometimes your drive off can suffer. But yeah, uh, it's lagging on yours. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't think anything's different. I mean, there's never really good signal. I'll open up my my garage door a little wider. Not that I don't know that what I can't run the Wi-Fi. I'm too far away from the house in the barn to get Wi-Fi to go. Doesn't even being out here doesn't increase my signal strength at all. It's just Dansville. Um, sometimes we got pretty good stuff. No, I'm not running Saturday at AMS only because uh I gotta rescale this thing, get it ready for Selms Grove, and I got to stretch tires and this and that, and then money. I gotta, if it's not expensive to run AMS for me because it's what $30. I am a member, and entered in points, but it's probably $30 to enter the track. But then by the time I put fuel in, down and back, and then by the time I eat, it's $100 bill. That $100 bill will go into fuel to go down to PA and race that race. And hopefully, I don't know I haven't been paying attention to whether they're supposed to have Keystone State race at Selms Grove. Same thing. It's going to be a Reaper tire event. Last I heard, it was looking poor for them down there. Hopefully, in 2 weeks. It's a little over a week away from the attack of the clones. Hopefully, the weather clears up for it. It should be. I'm excited to go because I haven't been to a big event in a pretty long time. It's been. I mean, I used to go down with my buddies to to do something I haven't done in a very long time. You got to figure I ran flatheads in '02, '03. I think it's '02 and '03 only. That's the last time I was on something stock. Then '04, I believe I went to KT 100, '05 KT 100, '06 open. Something like that. Maybe, yeah. Yeah. Did I only run half a year of flathead? Maybe I only ran half a year. Maybe I was only on flathead for '02. That sounds familiar. Yeah. I froze. Oh no. Am I unfrozen? You said I was good. No, I was just yammering. Basically, show up and race. It's about 100 fuel pip. That's entry fees and a little bit. Okay. Am I still good, guys? I'm sorry. It is rainy here, so yeah. Let's see if I figured it was gonna. Uh, it is rainy here, so that's probably it's not super rainy. It's real muggy. It feels like Florida. That's all day today, and at the shop, I had the fan pointed on me, and it's very muggy. You could smell the air coming in. Oh, cool, good deal. I don't know technology. I reached out to my internet provider asking about an extender, and they never ever got back to me. It's probably my fault for not following up with them, but is what it is. Um, yeah, I'm trying not to move all that much. If I stay in one spot, it's going to get a consistent feed of anyway. Yeah, so it should be fun. I want to just the experience and to bring you guys along. So out to what reached out to 193 Productions, Boots, Tony Boots. Is that right? Missy Boots, Tony Boots. And I I know full well it's you know nobody ever says they're not going to win. I know full well where I stand in the clone world. Um, Improving every time I get on track is my purpose. If something by some the weird wind shift and I'm able to be fast enough to run up front, great. I don't expect it. My expectation is to take a tire that I don't know super well, experiment, figure out what makes it tick, what I want to do with it, at track, anything like that. Taking everything that I've learned and learned and heard about the tire, see if there's anything I can do with it. But it's I want to go down there for content and experience. That's everybody enters to win. If you're not a winner that day, make the best out of it. I'm going to make the best out of it. Try and make improvements every single time I hit the track. Try and get faster. Try and if I can stick with some pack, it's great. I am going to run 425 though, so that's going to be interesting. Now 390 I can well make. It'd take like 5 pounds to put on the car. That's the big money class, the pro class, or I think it's pro class. 390 I can make that weight, but also I don't want any of that smoke. That's where all the big dogs are going to be, or all the people that show up and shoot. I think it's $3 grand to win or something. I think that's where all the focus is going to be, and I don't want any of that smoke. So I'm not saying 425 is going to be not as competitive, but also I got to weight the cart down. The one advantage, it's not an advantage. You have to weigh 200 pounds in order to run that class, and I weigh over 200 pounds, so that's awesome. I will have to put. Currently, I'm at like 405 with what weight I have on it. So I gotta put 20 pounds more on, which is fine. It's uh, shouldn't be that bad. Should scale up fine. I just have to check it out. Uh, Rain off and on here, Troy. Yep. Uh, I know this. It is nearing the weekend, and we know this year. See, that's I've forever told people they people talk about weather, and it's just like, oh, it's never been this way. It's just like, well, you got to be on the planet for a while. This is I remember specifically I was Paradise Speedway, and it would rain every single weekend, and I remember it was gorgeous all week long, and you get the weekend and we'd go racing and it would rain, and it's just like it's about a 20 year it's about 20 years ago that happened to us. I was running KT 100, so yeah, it was probably 04, 05, somewhere. That's 20-year swing. That I, I believe that the Earth goes through cycles, and I believe that that I've been around long enough to see at least a little bit of a cycle. I'm not that old, but uh, this isn't unheard of. Is where I'm getting. It sucks. It sucks to be a racer in this kind of weather, but is what it is. But I did want to. I started to make a video. I started to make a video about this whole thing, and then it stopped, and I'm like, I don't want to engage in any kind of drama. I don't want to feel as if I'm picking sides. I don't think there's sides to be picked. Um, I when Terry came on Facebook Live, I he said what I read it as, and I know that the people who are the people who like Maxis and Maxis themselves, they obviously they're it's competition. I get it. I read it as just it. It was a recommendation, and 193 Productions, Keystone State Series, some tracks down south said, "Hey, we're adopting this recommendation," and that's what I read it as. But man, all you got to do is add a little fuel to the fire. And I knew, anytime that a supply issue happens with Reaper, they, maybe a poorly worded, press release for a recommendation went out. It's the second one of those guys, man. With Odom, I don't want his job. I don't want Henner's job. Producing, managing, trying to get tracks on board, trying to, do. I don't want their jobs. But man, reread your stuff, because this is the second time that it is not gone well when you post stuff. That's all I'm gonna say is what I recommend is proofread. Think about how some people could take something and very carefully word it. I am, I get it. I've made mistakes. I've typed too fast. My fat thumbs have gotten in the way. I reread it. I'm like, ooh, somebody could perceive that this way. I better, But yeah. Yes. Um, I'm not doing that. That's dumb. Holy smokes, buddy. Okay. Um, we're can I? Wait, what do I do here? Put user in timeout. There we go. Okay, maybe he'll go away. Uh, okay, already rained out for this weekend. Oh, that's a bummer. But yeah, the whole HBM Reaper thing, the Maxis Reaper, the Maxis thing, the Maxis thing, um, the Maxis thing, the Reaper thing. I was in the video that I started to do before I deleted it. I said I think it's much to do about nothing, but if you are Reaper, not that you have to walk on eggshells, but know full well that if you slip up even the slightest, um, the people who love Maxis, run Maxis, want to run Maxis, the tracks, they're gonna jump you. They're gonna let you know exactly where you screwed up and how bad you screwed up, and it's I don't think that Terry had any ill intent. I don't think that. I think that he truly was. Hey, man, not everybody has the funds or the foresight to see that maybe we should be stockpiling tires. Now, I will say that everybody kind of knew this was going to go this way anyway. In relation to tires, in the Burris world, you need older tires. You need seasoned tires. They hold up better in summer months. Initially, my impression was that the Reapers were not going to be subject to this, that date codes weren't going to be an issue, that this and that. But knowing, I was hopeful, knowing full well that a season tire is a season tire is a season tire, whether it be Burris, be a Maxis, be it Reaper, be a Vega. It's just the longer a tire sets, the more oils are going to dissipate from the tire, causing it to get tougher and withstand, say, summer month racing better. I've been on my 25 Burris a couple times now, and they're a little soft for even the circumstances I was in. I thought they would have been pretty good. I was on them last weekend, come feature, but it's obviously a combination of setup and everything. But I know that people were on 2024s, so they've been aged. They can they just sometimes on particular surfaces they perform better. So age is always going to be thing. Date codes. I don't so much date code like I'm sure that if you're getting down to the nuances of everything, date codes really matter, especially down south. That is a thing. Up north, it's more yearish, uh, in my opinion. But we are going down to we as me are going down to the Attack of Clones, not this weekend, but the following weekend. And I have a set of 2025s, and I have multiple set of 2023s, and I kind of not dug them out, but I had them just sitting over there, and I got them. They still feel really good. Like I already showed you that one. Is this the one that's barely touched? I have one that has not hit the track yet. I think it's this one. I think it's this one. They're all, but they they still feel good. So I only had maybe I had one set of ELs at one point in time, briefly, and then figured out I was going to do nothing with them. But those really those felt plasticky. Like I'm these still have some grip to them. I got to go through. I got to surface all. I got to mount a couple that I dismounted, some 23s, and surface them again. See what they look like. I got to mount these 25s and see what they look like. Chances are I'm not going to be on the 25s because I just being a bigger race track is going to take. It's going to take prep. It's going to take bite. It's I think it's going to get gripped up a lot, bit up really well, and it's going to take a tougher tire. And I might be a little, chances are you're going to need 24s, Reaper 24s, but I got 23s. But it also means that I can, if somebody's afraid to hit their tires harder with prep because they're afraid of biting them up too much, I think I can go a little harder with prep. Um, we'll see. Maybe it gets so hot and so hard that 23s are the way to go. That'd be awesome. But yeah, should be a lot of fun. I gotta get my drink. I'm not gonna move the phone because of the connection issues we had. I'm gonna slide over here and get my beverage. But I reached out. I got some information. I still don't have mini gears. I know that a lot of people do run mini gears. I don't have mini gears, so I'm going to be running a 15 driver, and probably somewhere in the mid 50s, mid to upper 50s, give or take, rear. At least that was the recommendation. Back to the pits. Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy. Jeez. Right, where's DB? I've never. Oh no, strike that. I did lose a tire. That was due to the contact though. I was at Liberty down in North Carolina, and it was one. It wasn't a Grand National. We didn't call them those back then. They were just a national. Went down to Liberty, North Carolina, and I contact on lap one. Uh, I started last, and everybody got bunged up, and I went shot to the inside. And when I came down onto the inside, everybody at the front had started to wreck, and I just piled right in there and lost my right rear, bent the rim, took the tire off the bead, junked a brand new Maxis. Is what it is. But yeah, that's the only one I've ever lost. And surprisingly, because the open stuff, you would think I had Reapers, 23 Reapers, whatever set they were, on GTR rims. People, ooh, some people they have beef with stuff, all sorts of different products. Anyway, I had Reapers on GTR rims, and I had them at 2 and 3 psi on that open cart that I'm looking at right now at 450 pounds, and I did not lose the bead. It's sometimes it's just a crapshoot. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it does not. Do some carts just like more weight? I loaded my car up to 400. I would say there maybe whatever frame it is, whatever design it is, it might like to be moved. Um, that's a thing. Like if you go with a reverse, they built like a Triton Junior and inch and an eighth chassis and this and that for little kids because the kids don't have enough weight to make the frame do what it's intended to do. Well, if you reverse that, hey, they don't have enough weight. Well, there's a midweight that might not, it might start to flex it, but a heavier weight might actually help. It'll and whatever you're doing to the tires, maybe you like to run a little bit of harder tire, and having more weight will actually force the tire into the track, causing the chassis to actually do what it's intended to do. That the open motor makes carts do weird things, but I can't say that I've ever had a chassis that is been upset at the fact that I'm running 450 pounds on it, or anywhere 420 to 450, give or take. They, I think they work just fine. It's 21 sites sitting over there, and I thought it handled fine. I missed on tires the last time I had it out, but it's pretty heavy. for a standard inch and an eighth or inch and a quarter chassis. Although that's 095, that's a big tube. Have Stinger more weight. Yeah, there you go. Yep, see, so never like 360. Yeah. That's, is my really that 2020 is my Jeter really? Yeah. What's going on? Yeah, like I said, I ran it on the open GTR rim and they're 2023 Reapers. So I don't know if they change anything, to the 2024s. If they, we kind of had this discussion last year a little bit with the Burris that did they kind of come to find out that Van K made a different rim or something like that. I don't know. I try not to get caught up in drama or, he said, she said, oh, they designed this, they blah, blah, blah. Sometimes tires are they're handmade. They're all handmade. Sometimes they're in imperfect practice. And sometimes, it could be, a different batch of rubber or, some impurities in the rubber. There are so many things that, QC can only catch so much, especially when you're dealing with things in the thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Some people, had major problems with Burris last year, debeating. They even, they canceled the one race. I heard that Reapers were debeating. I've never had it happen. I can't speak to that knowledge because it's never happened to me. So honestly, you'd think, well, you don't race all that much, but true. I probably race less than some of the upper guys, but also that thing, I put things through its paces. Like I am rough on tires with the open. I abuse stuff when I'm on the open. The weight abuses stuff on the open. So, uh, I run 425 and some nights are faster than 375. Depends on the track. Absolutely. And especially once you get wound up, like I think that a weight especially is a detriment on starts and restarts. Like, you would have a hard time at 425 versus 375 on starts. It's 50 pounds. They just rotating mass. It's easier to spool up, a cart that's lighter. But once you're up to speed, again, sometimes weight, it's not a bad thing. It's not a naughty word. Did I there was something did some okay, I was just making sure I didn't skip anybody. Yeah, there's no kidding. Yeah. Is there any advantage or disadvantage? Okay, yeah, so it's personal preference. People are going to tell you, yeah, it's in general rotational weight. Uh, it depends on what size your track you're on, in my opinion. So if I were to run mini gears at the local track there at AMS, I would have to run a 10 driver. Now, when you reduce the size of the driver, it creates it makes this tight, and it's better up off the corner, but it doesn't carry as much into the corner. And with a 10 driver, you're running the risk of breaking teeth on the 10 driver. Everything has to be so thin. 11's a little better. That's what I run. I run 11 with standard, RLV gears. And what do I run? WMS. I got WMS stuff. I got some Hortzman still. But anyway, the mini gears versus that. But a lot of it is just rotational weight. So the less you can take off your drivetrain, you run titanium studs, you run lightened hubs, you run mini gears, you run the mini hub. All that stuff is rotational weight. So if you take off rotational weight, it maximizes the horsepower that you're putting to the rear axle, therefore making your cart faster. But there is, Wesley and I discussed this kind of in depth when we started this live stream. Before that, there is a point to where you get out of the corner a little bit better, typically with mini gears, but with more weight. Say I have a PRC. It's an old floater. I think it's floater. I don't know. Anyway, standard rear hub for my gear and a bigger driver. That momentum, and we see the same thing as in UAS. I'll talk about that in a second. It carries into the corner. It carries into the chute. That spooled up speed it doesn't cut off. It has a tendency to carry the cart into the corner and carry speed in the corner a little better. So it's, I mean, you got to be a fairly, in my opinion, fine tuned driver and setup man in order to really see the speed there. But uh, I would try them. I would try. I would absolutely try, especially being heavier. You know, I think I could benefit from it. Okay, what do we got? Conditions 320. Tracks you run. Tracks you run in our area is pure clay or sandy clay. Um, there's some clay content, but it's uh usually what do I want to call it? River soot. Sometimes that's there's clay there. There's clay in it, and it makes it, and it will bite up. You can run softer tires. It will hold moisture, but there is an element of roughness to it, and there is a sandy-ish kind of gritty type of scenario to it. We don't have, I wouldn't say true clay, and if we do have true clay, tracks, it's gray clay up here in New York. Um, but yeah, it's still it's got a bit of everything around here's got a bit of dirt in it. It's got a bit of sand in it. It's not pure clay. So even though you can run softer tires, it's not it's just not all consistent. I would say maybe. Uh, Sorry, I jumbled those two back and forth. Both down south ever taken. I have a bidet now. My buddy Doug's watching. I was telling, I had band practice last night, and I used that. Spin was the name last week. Is the name of that song. Doug busted my balls about it because he was, I can't believe you forgot that. But so my wife turned me on to this is aside from racing. I apologize, but it's just on the tip of my tongue, and I have to say it. So I was always just a TP standard guy, and then my wife always had wet wipes, and she's just like you could use those. And I'm like all right, I suppose it makes sense. You want to get stuff clean, so yeah, started using those. These are wonderful. Oh my goodness! And then of course I found dude wipes, and dude wipes are more expensive, but boy, they're so much better. I mean, it's the Cadillac of butt wipes. They're fantastic. And then my wife didn't like the price of those, so she's just like, "What if we got a bidet?" Because my son's he's super smart. He's in college now, computer game design and this and that. Anyway, he bought a bidet, and then she's just like, "What if we got a bidet?" So we got used to that, and now I can't go back. It's being clean is just it's an amazing feeling. So back to your regular scheduled program. We had to stop and talk about bidets for a second. Uh, in my opinion, mini gears gives you more. Yes, absolutely, I agree. Yep, big gears on the big end. The bigger the driver you run, the more top end momentum speed you are going to pull. It's not going to be that great off the turn. If you're looking for a passing gear, bigger gear is not the way to go. But if you're looking for that run at the end of the straightaway in order to carry speed into the next corner, and you're not giving up off the corner once you're up to speed because the momentum that you're able to carry into the turn, through the turn, and off the turn, I think the bigger gear, the biggest gear you can run, the better is my opinion on that. It doesn't always remain true, but it's just just logically, if you can maintain that momentum, it's better. Now, if there's a whole bunch of stop and go in front of you, if there's people jacking on brakes and stuff like that, it's going to be hard for that bigger gear to spool up quick enough to take advantage of a passing situation. But that's me. Uh, Here's some tracks. Daytona dirt down south. There. It's I would Daytona's on my bucket list for open. Slick, hard to get a hold of. That's I think that's going to be my not going to say they're going to show up and win, but I think that what it's definitely an advantage when you're used to driving on stuff that's hard to get a hold of, especially with an open. It takes a certain amount. It takes a a corner setup. It takes a certain type of driver, and I've been driving on the slick crap for all my career racing karts. So I'm a little out of my element when there's gobs and gobs of grip. Um, I don't dislike it. It's just you go from driving a dry slick or a super slick track or a rough track or this and that, and then you get on something Hunterstown Speedway in 2023, unbelievably fast, just so much grip. People on maxis just getting it. Evan C just whoo, just I was sitting in corners 3 and 4 and watching them enter the corner and but just almost perfection. Just watching them enter the turn, I'm not used to that type of grip. It's just like what I'm out of like man, I want to lose. Not that I want to lose grip, but I'm used to sliding around a bit more, and it's weird. Oh goodness, yeah. I got to get on tires. I got to dismount those. I got Vega Blues here that have been on track like once. I got like 3 sets. I got really old set of thins, Vega Blue thins. Those are quite old, but I have two, and they're not even that new anymore. They're a couple years old, but they've barely been on track. I've been holding on to them just in case something they got to punch like 75. They got to be crazy hard, like midsummer Jasper type of stuff. Hurricane Creek. You got to go check. Yeah, you're preaching the choir, man. If I could move down south, I would. Um, I believe I'm a northern redneck, uh, wholeheartedly. I live in a town, but I mean it's a village. Um, the village I think holds like 4,000 people or 5,000 people, something like that. It's small. We turned a old railroad station into a bar. That's what we do. So I'm in New York, but I'm definitely a northern redneck. Uh, anyway, I like freedom. I hate taxes. And you guys have amazing food down there. But yes, your tracks are freaking killer too. I GKK was awesome for me. So the translation, yes, it was gripped up, and I could adapt to it. The bigger, faster tracks. I did the same thing at Possum Kingdom. I think I came down for the Fred Jackson Memorial Race. Oh, geez, make me stick a year on that. But everybody just, Possum Kingdom's so big. It's just like it. Well, yeah. I mean, it was the same gearing as my local track, except for you guys have grip. So I adapted like that. I mean, I think I ended up seventh. I mean, it was the first time I had been on a real southern track, and with the whole calcium, the whole nine. And now, mind you, it was cold. I will say that when we came down for the Fred Jackson Memorial Race, but I adapted the speed immediately. Like, yep. And I've always kind of been that way. The bigger, the faster the track, and maybe that pertains to clones too. We'll see. I don't know. Uh, how much work is a two-stroke engine for the two-stroke classes? Depends on which two-stroke engine you're talking about. If you're talking about KT100, which is a piston port 100cc, I wish they were around. I really do. I think the little bumblebees would make a fantastic class again. We used to have a handful of them that showed up to Paradise way back when. I think even on these smaller tracks, it would be a lot of fun. They are very inexpensive. If you're getting into two-stroke racing, the uh, UAS, something in the 250 two-stroke, have a shifter, learn how to drive a shifter. Cool. If you're looking into getting a Bama though, like something custom, that one, well, the power valve. If you take the power valve off it, that was $7,200. The engine alone. Um, and then the power valve was another 2 or 3 grand or something like that. I didn't buy it. That was the guy I drove for before. I sold mine. I sold mine, and he said he was not going to leave me with nothing. So when we had multiple engines in this shop, and that is the engine that I kept. I kept one of the Bamas, but it's a I always suggest if somebody is going to go UAS racing, I know that's not exactly your question. Somebody's going to go UAS racing, go with a 450, go with the MX 450, learn to shift it, all that stuff, because a baseline 450 is going to run forever. You can kickstart it. You just have to have a shifting mechanism. You're good to go. There's a lot of horsepower there to get used to the experience. The two strokes, on the other hand, you have to learn tuning, and sometimes that's more difficult than not. You can lose a piston like that if you lean it up too much. You can also flood the thing out and it won't run, so there's two strokes are nuanced. Not saying a four stroke isn't nuanced, but I think that you have a bigger window of prosperity with a four stroke than you do a two stroke. If you know how to tune a two stroke, if you get into it, if you've dedicated to it, okay, it's just what I've ran since I started. I've always been a two stroke guy. I continue to be a two stroke guy. Nothing against four strokes, but I know what it needs in order not to blow the thing up every single time. And it takes a bigger notebook, whether mentally or written down, to run the two stroke than it does a four stroke. That's my opinion on it. But yeah, I can find you. So yeah, yeah, I know. Make KT 100s great. It's a point of pride. It's also a bummer. I won the very last KT 100 race ever held at Paradise Speedway in Geneva, New York. I won. It was $100 to win, hundred to win a race. I won it. I went 10 for 10 that year. I raced every other week. I took a break from UAS racing. Maybe I raced one race, the Northeast Divisional, but I ran every other week and I won every other week on it. I almost lost once, but then I came back. It was a tuning thing, and there again with the tuning, the air was heavy, it was dense, and my tuning was off, and it was a slug. And could have blown the thing up, but I almost shut the engine off under caution, twist the needles back in, opened them up where they should have been. I must have gone a lot leaner than I had been, and my temp lead had broken off. So I could have nuked it and lost that race. I did not. It survived, and I got back by everybody. 86, 87 series direction. Yes. Yeah, the big bore stuff is increasingly hard to find. I will say that BR's. Oh no, that's a 300. BRC has a 300, but then again, Bama, they have a 300 cylinder now, a 250 re-sleeve to a 300. I had one of those. I was good. I just it was the freshest engine when Walt retired. It was the one that was going to get the most money, so we sold that one. I kept the 270. Um, I may I have a Bama. Is there someone who does port work to increase the power? Um, I wonder if Chris C does C High Performance. He might be somebody to talk to. Um, I don't know. I don't know a whole bunch of engine builders. Um, Unfortunately, I know a lot of people. I'm not off the top of it. I have, personally, I know a guy up in the Northeast here. I don't know that he even does engines anymore. So I haven't spoke to him in years. So I'm not going to go ahead and mention his name on here. I don't need anybody trying to find him. But if I if I were looking for somebody, I would reach out to C High Performance, SEAY. You can also pronounce it Say High Performance if you like. I've been told numerous times that is incorrect. It's C High Performance, Chris C. And if he won't do it, he knows somebody that possibly could do it. That would be my recommendation, is to get a hold of him. Just my opinion. Sound used to have a K2. Yes, I do believe they still do. I don't know how active it is. I just, it's like 4.5 or 5 hours away from me. They used to. Matter of fact, did I see somebody? I think I just saw somebody post the results, and I think they still do. I think that's still running good. And matter of fact, they might be running a class in the state series too. Uh, I'm not positive on that though. There's two state style series down in PA. There's the Burst Money Series, BMS, and obviously Burst Tires, and then there's the Keystone State Series, which is Reaper. I want to say one of the two, if not both, still have a KT class. Burst might not anymore, or I don't know. Maybe they both don't anymore. I honestly haven't paid it that much attention. But yeah, KT's on Hunterstown. You're moving there too, man. It's a lot of skill tree. Yeah, and, I will say this: that there are people on, oh boy, is it Two Stroke Racing Development or something? Two Stroke on Facebook. If you get on there, even if you don't like Facebook, if you can search for groups, there are some two stroke related groups that just deal with their. I mean, they're typically they're not all kart engines, but MX stuff, getting porting on 252 strokes, 125s, blah blah blah. I think there's a lot of people on there that still have a passion for it. I've never the furthest I've gotten into machining any engine stuff was when we converted a 250, the Bama 250 to a 270. The billet bottom end wasn't machined wide enough for the 270 piston to clearance in there. So I very painstakingly took my Dremel and knurled out room for that, for the skirt, the piston skirt to come down and not hit anything. I had everything packed in, make sure nothing got in my bottom end and this and that. Very very rudimentary, but I was, like I said, painstakingly removing material in order to get it to come down there. But I can, my I have more experience tuning, say, this engine than some people do. I've had it for quite a while. The only part of an engine guy that I am is I can put a piston in one. That's I can change a top end rod or rod bearing. I could probably, well, no, I couldn't put a bottom rod end bearing because that would take splitting the crank apart. I could change case bearings. I'm pretty sure I could handle that. I did that on sedan years ago, 125cc sedan. So I'm not completely engine illiterate, but also it's not my. I'd rather pay somebody or give it to somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Same thing with I took a bunch of flack. I just had my mechanic that a water pump went in my wife's car, and I work in a body shop, and we have a mechanical shop that is part of the business. And I scheduled it, and then my one body shop guy was giving me crap. He's just like, "Why don't you just change it?" And I was just like, "Well, I put a water pump in my truck, put a starter in my truck, and stuff like that. That's fine." But when I YouTubed how to put a water pump in my wife's car, it mounted behind the timing belt. Nope, not doing that. As if I screw up the timing on it and my engine goes kaput, yeah, I changed my own water pump. No, I'll just pay the mechanics that know what they're doing to do that. There's this really weird dynamic in the automotive world where you wouldn't ask a mechanic to fix a quarter panel, to hang a quarter panel, to do body work. It makes sense. He's a mechanic. He do nuts and bolts and timing and impacts and this and that and cool. But because there's an element of mechanical to a body man's job, a guy who fixes deer hits, quarter panels, welds, stuff like that, we're expected that we should know how to do mechanical stuff when the mechanic isn't expected to do the body shop. It's very strange. It's like, man, I'm not a mechanic for a reason. Like it's not that I couldn't be a mechanic. It's just like I don't want to be a grease monkey. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have my hands covered in filth all day. I don't mind being dirty. I look like a powdered donut most of my life. Um, it's crazy. Race. Mark Pat. Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah, there you go. That's fantastic. Good recommendation. Uh, I appreciate it. No, it's I could I could win, not at will. Nobody can win at will. It takes a certain amount. I was quite used to winning in a UAS cart. I spent a lot of years being really pretty fast, and would consider myself one of the faster guys in UAS in at least the Northeast. You can always put it up. Are the Southeast faster than the Northeast guys? Well, it's different tracks, different types of tires, different. There's just differences, and they probably have an edge. They do it more often, in this and that. But I really prided myself on being one of the faster guys. Not saying the fastest, but one of the faster guys up in the Northeast. But man, jumping into a clone has humbled me. Not that I was ever arrogant about it, but I thought that it's clone. And honestly, the first time I got in or I ran for the Pieces, Motorworks there, and I did okay. I finished like second or something. It's great. And then the first time in my own stuff, I won the beginning of last year. I'm like, oh man, this is this clone stuff's going to be a breeze. And then ever since then, it's been a tough sell. It's I think I lucked out that first race, just hitting the tires right. The setup was right. Everything just kind of, and that's what you need in clone racing. It's not that you don't need it in UAS. It's just that I had so used to what that I like to feel in that emulating that in this is next to impossible. It's learning a whole different thing. I will tell you that racing the clone has made, at least my one race this year, I was so much more patient with the UAS ride. I wasn't erratic. I didn't jump all over the place. I wasn't, just running into people and everything like that. It did teach me some patience, be smooth, which was kind of nice. It's definitely. But I think I used to be faster. I'm not throwing in the towel by any stretch of imagination. I still think I can win, uh, but also age has brought patience and knowing full well that although it is a hobby that I love and I love to win, it's almost Mark Martinish. I got Mark Martin here. My dad was a huge fan of him. That they're once you get past a certain age, things start to become you know. You start to evaluate things and whether or not you want to stuff your nose into a certain, young Ben, no problem. Also was nose to nose with people arguing. Surprised I had never been in a fight at the track. Arguments, lots of them, but no fights. Um, but older Ben just doesn't want any part of that. uh, yes, absolutely, and that's a thing. That's a very real thing. It's not that we'll take Evan C because he's arguably the fastest person in a UAS cart. Still, I think he proved it last weekend. He went down and it was $3,000 to win or something like that. And he hadn't raced at all this year. He wasn't even on a BRC. He was on a Jawa, and he went out and won. He is that patient. Chris, Chris and Evan at C High Performance. They have. I don't want to say they've yet to be beat. They have been beat, but they are just so consistent and so smooth and so decisive about what they're gonna do. That the confidence that they when they hit the track, it's fantastic. And it's very hard to do that. There was a point in time in like 2019, 2018, 2019, I felt that way. I felt like that. I won 6 races, 7 races that year, or something like that, something crazy. There's a 500 to win race uh, poster up here somewhere, and I felt like I was the man to be up here, and it's wonderful. It's just it's very hard to maintain that. And Chris and CI Performance there and Evan have. They continue to do so. They continue to really set that bar. Like, hey, you want it? here's where it is. You got to come get it. We're not slowing down for you guys. Um, but anyway, where I was going with that is that when you have perfection, like they, not perfection, but next to perfection, like they're doing, they make a very few mistakes, but horsepower will overcome that mistake if you happen to make it. You can, if you mess up a lap, if you mess up two, but then you nail five in a row with the type of horsepower you have enough horsepower to correct for those mistakes and really get back what you had lost. Whereas, it's much harder to do in a clone. Very much harder to do in a clone. You do not just, I got some serious, I made up some serious time last Saturday and I was running down second and third and I screwed up once, no, twice. But I think they weren't perfect at all. But once definitely, and I lost the nose. I got down too low. I lost the nose, and it just killed like three carts. And it took me the entire rest of the run to get that back. I was faster than them, just couldn't. You couldn't make mistakes, and you know that's where I wish I had that. The little Bama go. Close more. Yes, absolutely. But I just glanced up, and I hate to cut this. I say cut it short. It's over an hour. I only plan to be on here an hour. I really appreciate you guys coming by every week. It's I'd ask why, but I honestly don't care. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you come on here and listen to me talk for an hour. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to bounce off here. I got the swimming pool open. I'm considering taking a dip. I got to check the temperature though. I overfilled it a little bit and got a mean text from my wife. She's bonehead, forgot to turn off the water. Anyway, I might take a dip. I might not. I might mount some tires. I might not. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but I appreciate you guys coming back. And I think I'm going to do something fairly simple. I was going to do a whole thing on the HBM thing. I don't want to do that video. I don't want to be clickbaity. I don't want to be that guy. I know it might. I debate it. You know what's been said's been said. I think I'm going to do something. I did a short video on carburetor cleaning. I think that's probably going to be the thing. This weekend's video, I'm going to record me taking the carburetor off, just spraying it out, just a simple cleaning, just kind of go through things, show what it's like, because I can't get away from doing the things that this channel was intended to do, which was teach people about kart racing, and people getting into clones, have never taken apart a carburetor before, and I'm no professional at it, but I'm getting more comfortable with it. And I thought, take you along for the ride. Hey, this is what it looks like in here. This is what I do. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, because I'm not, but at least take everybody along and show you what's going on there. I don't know, if I feel inspired, maybe I'll do the Reaper thing, but I think it's already somewhat dead. It burned up in the whole drama burned up in a couple days. I think it'd be worthless for me to do another video. I kind of said what I had to say on here, and it's not that anybody really cares. Absolutely, yeah. You have no idea how bad I would love to swear on here, but I have made a professional decision that I know kids watch this, and if I had younger kids and somebody was teaching them about something they loved, or talking about something they loved, and then they're just f bombing all over the place, I wouldn't appreciate it. But if you see me at track, don't expect that I'm this PC. I am not. I can assure you of that. But anyway, I appreciate you guys coming by. Yeah, video on probably cleaning a clone carb coming Sunday, and then I'll have to come up with something else, because I'll be off racing, hopefully off racing, and I expect a vlog in the next couple weeks if I do go racing down to the Selins Grove there. Attack of the Clones 193, I believe it's 193. I've said that a couple times. I believe it's 193 Productions. I think it should be a really good time. I think it'll be a great experience, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But all right, guys, I'm out. Thanks. Bye.